Next up, we present Dalek expert himself, Jon Davey.
Hi, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us at BritCon this year. I'm Olivia, but I'm more publicly known as Domestic Cosplay. I am so excited to be here today and to be able to introduce one of the men that is inside so many of our favorite Whovian creatures, Jon Davey. He's joining us today.
Hello, how you doing?
So excited to have you here, Jon. Thank you so much.
Oh, that's you're welcome. I've missed out on going to cons over the last 18 months, so any opportunity just to talk a load of rubbish about Doctor Who, then it's perfect.
Well, now, come on, those costumes. I mean, you're in some pretty crazy get-ups.
Yes, it's fun. It's amazing fun. I'll just briefly go into how I accidentally tripped and ended up being a monster on Doctor Who.
Oh, please do.
Rewind back to 2004, I believe. At the time, I was working for a company shooting music promo videos for bands such as Radiohead, The Killers, Scissor Sisters, loads more. And then between jobs, I just started doing a bit of background work in TV and films.
Wow.
Then I got a call from my agent, and there was 50 guys, all similar height and builds, and we went for a rehearsal. And at the end of the rehearsal, we were told this was to be the Cybermen in Doctor Who.
So you didn't know before you went in you were auditioning for a Cyberman?
No.
Holy crap.
Yeah, which was, it was absolutely amazing. And the choreographer, an amazing woman called Elsa Burke, she was there and she was getting us to march up and down and walk around with our eyes closed and do various different things, which was, yeah, absolutely fantastic. And then obviously they said, oh, this is to be the Cybermen for Doctor Who. And by the way, you cannot tell anyone about it. So so I didn't even tell my girlfriend at the time.
Oh,
wow. So then I basically got a call back and we went to Millennium Effects, Neil Gorton's company that made the costumes, and if the proverbial suit fits, then we got the job.
Oh, wow. So it was literally like, if you didn't, like, you had to fit in the suit, and if you didn't, there wasn't no modifications or anything, it was you just didn't get it?
No, it was
wow.
One suit fits all, or doesn't fit all, if the case will have it, or, you know, vaguely fits all. But that was, yeah, that was amazing. So did the 4 Cyberman episodes in series 2 with David Tennant, which was absolutely amazing. And being a big Doctor Who fan as a child, that was one off the bucket list. And then I didn't really think anything of it. I didn't come back in series 3, but I then came back as one of the heavenly hosts in Voyage of the Damned.
That was actually my very first episode of Doctor Who. I was watching it on Armed Forces Network.
Excellent. Good episode, that. So, yeah, so it basically just went on and on and on and on. And they kept getting me back. So I guess I'm doing something right, which is good. But I've got a little video, which has got a clip,
awesome.
a little 5-second clip of every episode that I've been in. Unfortunately, I haven't had time to update over the last couple of years. So the Jodie episodes aren't on there, unfortunately. But yeah, it will give all the viewers a quick overview of what I actually do. And here we go. Sorry, there's a bit of a self-indulgent intro on this. There you go. I can get rid of the audio because we don't want to get in trouble.
Hey, you know, you've earned that title. You've earned that title sequence.
So,
I mean,
here we go. So this is Rise of the Cybermen. And then Age of Steel. That's actually a brewery. There's me with Billy. There's me sat on the bus. There's Army of Ghosts. I was one of the ghosts. And Doomsday as well. And there's Voyage of the Damned, the Heavenly Host. And Planet of the Ood, where I was a Ood and a natural Ood. There I am as an Atmos worker in the Sultaran Stratagem. One of the half from the Doctor's Daughter. And this is the next Doctor.
I cosplayed her.
Did you?
Yes, on the Cyber Throne, because of I could turn my wheelchair into the Cyber Throne.
Well, next time I come over, we'll have to reenact that episode.
Oh God, yes.
And this is Parting of the Ways, I think, where I played a Hath, and also an Ood. That's in Wookiee Hole Caves. There I am as one of the Winders in the Beast Below. And I got to be a Dalek. I was.
You're gonna have to tell us about that.
Scientist in. Oh, and there's me as the headless Cyberman. That figure is now available from Eagle Moss Figures. It's just out.
Oh wow!
One of the Daleks as well. A Good Man Goes to War, where I was the cyber leader, confronting Rory. There's this is a little DVD extra. This explains how River Song actually got in the astronaut costume. I was one of the Daleks many times in Asylum of the Daleks. Talk to the Hand, one of the Vigil, and the Scary Whispermen.
Those guys were really creepy.
And then the 50th episode, again, played one of the Daleks. And Peter Capaldi's first episode, Deep Breath. There I am, with the hat on, top hat. There's one of the Clockwork Droids. And there's me as a unit soldier with Peter in Death in Heaven.
I love that episode aired on, I think it was either Veterans Day or Memorial Day over here. That second part. And it just meant so much. As a veteran, that meant so much.
I get an on-screen death now. So Missy vaporizes me and my friend Marcus. And last Christmas, playing one of the Dream Crabs. We could not see a thing with those masks on. We were blind.
Hence why you had to prove you could walk around blind.
Yes. One of the Daleks in The Magician's Apprentice, which was amazing seeing Peter in Davros's chair. That was hilarious. The Maya Warrior. That was one of my favourite costumes. And the amazing Peter Schofield. The Girl Who Died. There I am. Scary Zygon talking to Dr. John Disco. Oh, I blinked. Damn it.
Who wears question mark underwear?
That was in Pearl's first episode. Again, one of the Daleks. And Oxygen. There I am as one of the space corpses. Again, walking around with her eyes closed. And that's me just in the background as a soldier in one of the Monk episodes. The Memory Police as well. And there's me in the background taking my mask off of the camera. And I wasn't a Dalek here, but I was one of the soldiers. This was from Torchwood, Children of Earth. There's me pointing out the body bags. And also I was part of the Shan Sheath. Remember to bring that question up. And also one of the Dark Horde as well from the Sarah Jane Adventures. And also in class as Shadowkin. Well, I was and I wasn't. This was a video that was playing at the Doctor Who Experience. And this was the 2013 proms. That was me as an Ood on daytime television. And this was Doctor Who Live back in 2010. We did a big touring show.
Oh, wow.
Played the Jadoon captain. This was in Australia, me and Ben Foster on stage for the Symphonic Spectacular, and also the Big Fat Quiz of the Year with Jimmy Carr. And here's me and Matt talking about Peter's first episode. That's the Symphonic Spectacular again, back in the UK, and the Doctor Who Festival in Australia, talking about how light the Maya helmet is. That was a photo call. It was 105 degrees Fahrenheit during this photo call.
Oh my goodness.
And that was the Doctor Who Festival. There's Kate Walsh and Mark Gatiss and Steve Cranford on stage. And when they took off my helmet, they said, "Under every mask is a hideous creature." And then they and then I did drop the line saying, "I'm not a monster, I'm a human being." A bit of a John Elephant Man reference there.
Nice. So, okay, we've gotten in the video, seen a lot of creatures. Now, you did want us to come back to the stuff that you did with Sarah Jane Adventures, right? So.
Yes. So there was an episode, I think it's called Death of the Doctor, which Matt Smith was in, and also Katie Manning was in it as well, it was my first experience with Katie Manning. Which I've met her loads of times since, so I'm like, oh right, okay, yeah, that's just
she's
what she's
so happy.
I know, exactly. It was like, you know, generally we only talk if we get talking to, because, you know, if an actor's got a load of lines they're trying to learn, we don't want to be going up and going like, oh, I really like you. So but yeah, Katie was great. She just came up and held my hand, and I'm like, okay. But so the Shan Sheath were basically, they were just big puppets like Henson used. So my friend Ben Ashley and Paul Casey were playing the Shan Sheaths, but basically if you've got the head like this, you've got one arm free, but then you don't have a usable right arm. So if you watch it carefully, they just do a bit of a Napoleon through the whole thing, because there's a false arm. But there was a few scenes where they needed both arms going. There was one where the Shan Sheath's playing the harp, and also the TARDIS lands, everything's exploding, banging on the TARDIS, banging on the console. And to get that effect, I basically had to go under the cloak of Paul Casey, put my arm around his waist, and then stretch my right arm. And as he was running around, I'm just behind him, just waving my arms around. Total lo-fi way of doing it, but it seemed to have worked.
It works, and you got to be the right arm.
It is. I am the right arm of the Shan Sheath. My claim to fame. And then, yeah, going back to class. There was a bit of a mix-up. Basically, like with most television and film productions, they have a start date, everything gets planned, but the costumes weren't ready, but they already were shooting. So that very first scene was basically me in a green morph suit, and then they CGI'd the Shadowkin over me, and I'm fighting with the swords and doing all of this sort of stuff. So yeah, well, Andy Serkis has made a career out of it, so I will take that as a acting role anyway. I've got a little video, I believe, somewhere. Here we go. So this was me rehearsing in my green morph suit. Look at this. How sexy am I? So if you see that, that again, then yeah, it was me in that sexy green morph suit. From the video as well, obviously, occasionally you do get to see my face, like repeatedly. The first time you get to see my face was in Doomsday. Is the pre-title sequence where Billy's on the bus and she's saying, "Oh, this is the day I died." We'd just been filming a load of Cyberman stuff previous, and they basically just wanted to get this bus scene. So it was me, Kevin Hudson, and Joe White became bus passengers. So it was a very good way of keeping your ego in check, because you're like, oh, yes, I'm a Cyberman now. Then all of a sudden you get told, right, you just got to be on the back of a bus. It's always good to have an ego death once in a while. So there were two shots. There was one shot, the bus pulls up, I walk on the bus, sit down behind Billy, bus takes off, and then there's Billy eating her chips, or French fries, as the Americans say, and I'm sat behind her. I did, before I show you this video, I did point it out at the time to the assistant director who was there, and I did say, by the way, these two shots don't cut together. But he said, no, that's fine, no one will ever notice. But it eventually appears as a blooper on the World's Greatest TV Mistakes. I think we could probably play the audio on this. I don't think that will be too much of a problem. But so here is my Doctor Who blooper.
This is where I was born. This is where I died.
More Doctor Who, and Billy's on the bus in contemplative mood.
Yeah.
The first 19 years of my life, nothing happened.
But keep your eyes on the extra who sits in the row behind her.
Me.
Not ever.
Oh, Billy, come on. Incredible things are happening all around you. That bloke just jumped back through time and space simply to get a better seat. Pay attention, girl.
Oh. So I had one job to do. But yeah, so when they got the outside shot, obviously they wanted to be sitting behind her. But when they came to do the interior, literally I was just sort of poking out from the side. So they said, can you just sit back and one across? So I'm immortalized in not being able to sit in the right seat. So whenever you see these things on television with lots of mistakes, you know, don't always blame the person. We're always told to do things, even though they may not be the right thing.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you still have to follow the directions of the director.
Exactly, yes. But yeah, so I had my show reel, but since that show reel, I've done some other episodes. I was, I've got to try and think what I've done now. I played the Cybermen in the Timeless Child. The new Cybermen, which I've got a picture of actually.
Cybermasters.
The Cybermasters, yes. So where am I? Can have a look at this one. So that's my top and bottom. So these costumes were absolutely amazing. They were designed by Ray Holman, the costume designer, and they were manufactured by Rob Alsop, he's made stuff for Doctor Who before. He made the emoji bots and the hand bots, and the teleguards. And compared to the Cybus industry as Cybermen, these were so much nicer to wear. The original Cybermen weighed about 4 stone. They were made out of fiberglass, coated in aluminium powder, and they probably weighed around 55 pounds in weight. And they were very, very heavy. Luckily, technology for costuming and cosplaying, as you probably know, always moves on. Yeah. And these were like a sprayed urethane plastic type thing. So so they were very, very light and much more comfortable. And then the Cybermaster, Cyber Time Lords were basically the same costumes, except for we had a different head with these amazing Gallifreyan kind of markings on, and a really, really nice, very warm cloak. So it was exceptionally, yeah, it was exceptionally warm. The lights on our chests were really cool because they were actually controlled via Bluetooth. Oh, so, wow. So basically they could switch the lights on and off, like when we were dying, the lights would go off. And I think when we were coming to life, when we were in those coffins, kind of like, they would control those lights. But getting back to what you do with cosplaying, when we came to do the Maya Warriors, they originally came up with the concept pictures, and traditionally most stuff were made out of fiberglass or vac form plastic, which are very heavy. So Kate Walsh at Millennium Effects, who obviously, you know, knows the whole cosplay and fandom scene anyway, she said, so while cosplayers are making their costumes out of EVA foam, plasters out, why aren't we doing the same thing? So she basically gave a nod to the cosplayers, and the Maya was made from EVA foam.
Oh, that is so freaking cool.
Yeah.
I know you just made a whole bunch of cosplay. Oh my gosh, yes.
They'll all be arguing, I made EVA foam suits first. So it's you know, art imitating from life, really. However, with many things in television and film, basically the designs went around and changed for a month, and then they came to the conclusion to use the first design. Then they said, right, you've got 2 weeks to make 5. So yeah, it was a lot of sleepless nights for the crew at Millennium Effects to come up with these amazing costumes, but they are yeah,
2 weeks for 5 of those.
yes. And it was yeah, it was well, I was amazed myself how they actually did it. They make a maquette out of clay, and then they cover it in cling film, and then they get a Sharpie and they just draw all the edges and then carefully cut it away and then measure it and then scale everything up full size.
Yep, the duct tape dummy method. At least that's what I've called it.
Tape
duct tape dummy.
Cool.
Draw your pattern on it, cut it out, and there you go.
Yeah. So yeah, so that was a really cool little nod to you know, the cosplayers. Here's a little picture of me as the headless Cyberman from the Pandorica episode. Quick story behind that: they shot the entire thing with an actor that had one arm, and then basically Toby Haynes, the director, didn't have time to get the pickup, what's called a pickup shot. So the way things work is the most important thing to do is shoot your lead actors first. Anything else can be done at a later date, but you've got to shoot your lead actors first. So obviously Amy's point of view of the Cyberman walking around the corner with no head and then bending down to pick the head up was shot at a later date. They couldn't get the one-armed actor back, so they got me back with a green morph suit on under my costume. And Eagle Moss do the figurine collection, which is actually the latest issue, as luck would have it, issue 201. And there's a little interview with me. And if you go to my Instagram, I plastered it today.
I gotta say, that's actually a really cool tidbit that they tried to have someone that actually only had one arm. Because I know myself with disabilities, that's one of the things that tends to be a holdup, you know, is that people just see the disability, not what you can do. Yeah.
Well, I know, you know, in lots of action and war movies, there's lots of actors that have limbs missing and various different things, you know, because, you know, you're giving jobs to people that may not normally get it. And also as well, you can actually have an effect that generally isn't actually achievable as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there is hope for everyone. Just a lot of my PowerPoint presentation I've actually done with Tim in the other one, which I don't know whether it's coming out before or after this. So before or after?
I don't think we've actually set the schedule yet.
So maybe you've seen it or maybe you've not. So being on the show was brilliant, absolutely amazing. Obviously, the last thing that I did was Revolution of the Daleks, the Christmas episode, which was also really special as well, that it was filmed in my hometown of Bristol. And we filmed the scene on the Clifton Suspension Bridge. I don't actually have a photograph of it. I just got a bit sidetracked with being excited. But the thing I really, really love about Doctor Who is all the live shows that we've done, because you immediately get the audience reaction. Whereas you could shoot someone on the show and you don't know if you've done it right, and they go, yeah, fine, we're going to move along. And you're like, oh, okay. And then you may only see like a 2-second clip of all of this complicated stuff that you've done. So doing the live shows was amazing. This was Doctor Who Live, which was a big arena show that we did. And this was at Wembley Arena in front of about 4,500 people. And all of our movements and actions were done in time to the music. Ben Foster, the conductor and orchestrator, was there with his band. And basically we're all marching in time to the music. So I'll play this little clip, and you can see some of our action in work. Shall I mute the sound?
I'm not sure. Let's.
I got this off YouTube, but well, I'll tell you what, I'll play it with the sound, but you could always cut it out after. Is that possible? Anybody?
Oh, yeah, mute. Go ahead and mute.
Mute, okay.
Yeah.
So there we are as the Cybermen. We're marching down some steps that are exceptionally long treaded steps, so it was very difficult. And we're stomping in time to the music. So what we had to do, we had to back count all of our paces and then basically work out how many bars and beats there was until we actually hit the spot right at the front. So unfortunately we can't play the music, but basically the last bump like that, and we all stop and we're all in time, which is amazing. So we basically had a little gag, because at the time there was no photographs allowed, even though people are taking pictures. But a friend of mine, Paul Hardy-Brown, who was on the show, he basically was a stooge. Like, he pretended to be a fan that stood up and started taking pictures. The annoyance of the security guards that tried kind of, you know, telling him to sit down. So basically I grabbed hold of him and then basically marching up onto stage to be converted into a Cyberman.
Oh my God, that's awesome!
I can hear the music now. Dun 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 dun. So yeah, so that was brilliant. And then Doctor Who Proms playing one of the Whispermen, that was absolutely amazing as well. And then 2 tours of the Symphonic Spectacular in Australia, and also the one in the UK. So Doctor Who's been good to me.
Now, you've talked about many of the costumes. One of the things you've been in that you haven't really talked about getting in and out of, that I know a lot of people are going to be curious of, is the Dalek. Everyone wants to be a Dalek. I personally know some people that build them, and like, they're amazing. I would love to cosplay as one someday, but it's like one of those things. How is it, you know, obviously it's a tight squeeze, but like, how is it to be a Dalek?
Well, it was, the first time we did it was Victory of the Daleks. So before then, there were only, I think, possibly 3 Daleks seen on screen, which was predominantly Barnaby Edwards and Nick Pegg. And then I know Dan Barrett did it, and a few other people, which unfortunately I can't remember their names. And Nicholas Briggs did the voice. Obviously, Nick Briggs also does the Big Finish stuff as well, and a million other things. The way it actually works on set is actually quite good, because Nick's reading the lines live, and his microphone is set up to a radio transmitter, and the receiver is in the head of the Dalek. So when Nick says his lines, the lights flash in time on the Daleks.
Perfect.
So in the olden days, basically, you know, John Scott Martin and all the other guys that played them had a button that someone would read the lines and then they would have to kind of go in time. So the lights were always a little bit out of sync. So that was absolutely amazing. Obviously, the Paradigm Daleks, there were 5 Paradigm Daleks and 2 Ironsides on screen at the same time. So they basically got some of the guys that played the Cybermen in, and we had a day Dalek 101 with Nick and Barnaby, and they got us up to speed. And the very first shot that we did, and again, there's never time to rehearse, everything's a rush, is when all the smoke happens and the Daleks come up through a doorway. So the doorway was about an inch wider than the Dalek themselves.
Oh, no.
You would have hoped that they would have designed the doors wider. And also, as we came through the smoke, we couldn't see anything, and we were going up a ramp. The entire set itself is a humidor, a tobacco humidor that was in a tobacco factory, which is a giant steel box, and it was like the hottest place on earth. So we went for the first take. Oh, another challenge we had was we couldn't drive straight up the ramp because there wasn't enough room, because they built the set and there was a corridor. So each Dalek had to, from left to right, had to filter in and turn to go up the ramp, which was a challenge. And it was either Nick or Barney. They basically went up, couldn't see anything. Obviously, you've only got an inch clearance, hit the edge of the door, and then all the Daleks just did that up behind them. Then we made a suggestion saying, well, can you just put a piece of white tape on the ramp, so when we're in our Daleks and we're looking down, we can actually just follow that bit of white tape.
Yeah.
But the design hasn't changed for 50, nearly 60 years, actually. It's basically 3 wheels, you're sat on a seat, shuffle around like Fred Flintstone, wiggle the arms, and the head's on a stick.
Awesome. So what would you say is the hardest costume you've ever had to get into? The one that took the longest and was just the most draining to get into?
The one that took the longest was probably the Whisperman, because that was a full prosthetic. I've got a time lapse of the Whisperman being put on, but I've also done it in our other interview, so we could see it twice. Why not? I think it. Oh, hold on. I don't know whether I've got it on here now.
That's okay.
Oh yeah, here it is. So I can talk over this anyway.
Awesome. 3 hours. Oh wow.
So this was 2013. Doctor Who proms. You start off with a bald-headed me, which isn't that difficult. Clean shaven, and then they put a bald cap on me. The bald cap is then glued down with a very, very strong adhesive. There's Kate Walsh from Millennium Effects. Hi, Kate. And then the whole head is covered in some stuff called Pax, which is basically glue and paint. That's then dried, and that gives a base layer. After that, the I think it's foam latex parts of the face are then glued on. And again, one of the hardest things about this is doing nothing. I'm kind of quite, how can I put it? I need a lot of things going on for me to function properly. I'm literally, I've got to be doing something. Normally, normally if I'm doing it, but it comes to the same thing. If I'm doing a task, I can only do it for a couple of hours, then I lose interest and I go off to something else. So the most difficult thing for me is actually sat down doing nothing. Oh look, there's Neve. So sitting down looking in a mirror for 3 hours just drove me insane. I had to get up halfway through and just walk around, just to just to have a break from it, really. So as you can see, they're putting all the shading on there as well, flicking little bits of spatter on me as well. And then there's me having my sandwich.
Oh gosh, yeah, eating in prosthetics. Oh,
Right. Well, now the biggest problem with this is the very final bit, which represents the skin, is a white stocking, and the stocking was then cut and glued to our lips. So obviously we were told you're not allowed to eat anything, because if you get anything on the stocking itself, then the whole thing's ruined and we can't put it on. So yeah, and it was annoying actually having the stocking glued physically onto our lips, not being able to close your mouth for 12 hours a day wasn't much fun. And then amazing,
when you move your mouth, it starts to come up a little. Like, it's impossible to keep it just stay down. You have to keep touching it up.
yeah, it keep, you know, it literally, all you want to do is lick your lips, and we kept on getting told off, don't lick your lips. But yeah, so that was the most challenging. The hardest thing I think was having no vision, which literally you have no vision for 12 hours, and it's sort of some weird sensory deprivation. And we did 5 days in a row, and our call time was 4 o'clock in the morning, and we didn't get out till 9 at night. And especially having all of that stuff glued to your face and then ripped off every evening as well. Yeah, it was after 5 days of that.
Your skin had to have been raw.
Yeah, I think I definitely earned my money on that one. Let me just have a look, see if there's any other fun bits. Oh, right, yeah, I didn't show this video. This is brilliant. We can have the audio on this because this is what it is. So when we did the Symphonic Spectacular this was actually in Wellington, New Zealand. What would happen is the show would be going on, then a giant screen would appear, and then a Dalek would come up, and basically the arena is in the background, and it says humans, the city of Wellington is under Dalek control, you must surrender to the Daleks, which is a brilliant gag, you know, seeing as though the Dalek is actually outside the venue. So they filmed this. This one didn't make the take, and you might actually find out why when you see it. Okay, and I'm sure Nick Briggs won't mind me using his voiceover. He's been paid for this.
Attention! Attention! Attention, humans! A celebration of the
So look in the background.
This city, Wellington, is now under Dalek. The building is surrounded. There is no escape from the Daleks.
It is brilliant.
Genius.
Somebody
missed it earlier.
It is so perfect.
So then there's Paul Bullock, who was directing it. So I couldn't see what was going on. So I'm doing all of my Dalek stuff, and then there's the cameraman there, and Paul's there, and they're just giggling, and I'm like, oh, I'm doing my job brilliantly. You know, I'm doing this with the head, and they're just smiling and giggling, and it's like, oh, this is you know, a dream come true for them. And then little did I know that there's a comically large dog behind me, and obviously there is no escape from the Daleks unless you're a very large dog.
It's the big scary evil with the cute and cuddly photobomb.
So yeah, so that was a pretty fun little moment. Oh, I just wish I could go touring again. Literally, it was the best time of my life. Traveling around Australia and New Zealand, being a Doctor Who monster is just like, you know, let it continue forever.
So, what's your
favorite? How are we doing for time? How much more can we go on for?
I think we've got like, let's see, let me double check what time it was. We had our 20-minute notice already. We've got about 10 more minutes.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, any other burning Doctor Who related?
I know fans wanted to know what your favorite what your favorite monster is that you've been. Which creature has been your favorite?
Well, there's a sliding scale of when it's your favorite. So it's your favorite when they announce it, and you're like, oh my god, I'm going to be a Cyberman. That's my favorite. And then after wearing it for 11 hours, it starts sliding down your favorites list because you're like, this thing is killing me. I can't see, I can't breathe, I can't hear. But possibly the Headless Cyberman, because it was such a weird, unique, one-off thing. And run out and buy it. You can get it now, and you can have a little mini-me figure.
Some people were wondering what the easiest. We covered what the hardest costume was. What was the easiest? Other than probably one of them that's just you. You don't have to worry about the prosthetics.
Yeah, the Ood was pretty easy because it was just a suit and a big foam latex head. But yeah, I guess probably the easiest one is this one, which was the Atmos worker. So, and also I was a playing card. Atmos worker #1. So, yeah, so basically it was a boiler suit. It was quite an interesting episode, that, because the 2 unit soldiers walk down the corridor and I say, this area is out of bounds. And we're basically, or the story goes that we're kind of like hypnotized and we're up 24 hours a day making these Atmos, you know, navigation things. So basically we were told, literally, you got to look like zombies, like that, which is brilliant because that's pretty much my range of proper acting, that I can just look a bit gormless on screen and go like that. So that's perfect for me. Then I have one of the greatest exposition lines ever in television. The door opens and I say, it's open. So stating the obvious. But yeah, that was my first time I got my face out on camera, which was yeah, which was quite good, and it was also quite scary at the same time as well, because
you didn't have the creature to hide behind.
No, because you know, up to then, I everything's changed now. I didn't actually like my photograph being taken or actually being filmed. Obviously, I got some issues going on there. So playing a monster was great because obviously I guess I had some sort of social anxiety, and then I could obviously hide behind the mask, which I've now met plenty of cosplayers, and sometimes that is kind of the reason why they do it, because they have similar issues. So, you know, to anyone out there, you know, you're not alone. I was the same, and obviously I kind of made a career out of it. So so stick with it. But yeah, the first time I actually was a human being, it was really daunting, because there's lots of people kind of just moving around, and because it was a throwaway little pickup shot, you know, it wasn't filming the Doctor, which everything, you know, everyone's on point. It was like, oh, we'll just get this little shot. There were people kind of wandering around, and you know, I kind of had an eye line, and there'll be people walking around in the background, and it can be quite off-putting. Yeah, probably a few tips to people that want to go into acting and performing. They'll teach you everything you need to do the job, but a lot of the time, I don't know whether it's changed now, they won't actually teach you potentially what it actually is like. So 95% of stuff that you go for, you'll get rejected. So if you love rejection, become an actor. Never take anything personally. It's got nothing to do with you. Someone might shout at you, but it's because they could be spending, you know, hundreds of thousands or even millions of pounds a day, or dollars a day. And the first assistant director's job is to make the day. That's what it's called. They got a script, and basically they have to get every shot on the script for the day. If they don't, they'll have to go over to the next day, which
just put you behind schedule.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, so if you imagine you had your wallet and you were doing this with $100 bills every second, and somebody isn't doing their job properly, you're going to start shouting at people.
Yep.
So, and another thing as well, and I've listened to so many actors do it, and they said that this should be compulsory if you ever go to theatre school, is basically learn how to do an interview at a junket. So a junket is when a new movie comes out, and then you see like a 60-second clip on, you know, of, you know, somebody sat down saying, well, the latest Marvel movie is about this and this and this and this. You see that, but what you don't see is they've probably done that 60 times to 60 other journalists. And they're asking the same questions. I can remember listening to Tom Hanks saying he did it once, and he basically forgot whether he was actually whether he actually talked about what he was talking about, because he'd already talked about it 30 times previously. So he was talking and he was like, in his head, he was like, oh my God, I've just repeated myself. Yeah, and also dealing with journalists, because journalists always love that scoop moment where they slide in some, you know, a loaded question, something like that. The famous one was Batman versus Superman. You know, the video went around of Ben Affleck looking a little bit upset, to say the least. So yeah, just a few little tips. I can't remember who said it. It may have been Sir John Gielgud. He said, don't become an actor if you want to become an actor. Become an actor because you have to become an actor. Some people just have to perform, you know, regardless of all of the nonsense that goes on in the background. So I'm kind of like that now. I know every time I go on a TV or film set, it may not be easy, but I can't help it. I can't help doing it. It's like an addiction.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead and finish. Sorry.
I think I did.
Okay, sorry. I started to cut you off there. I was like, oh no. So we are running up on our time limit, but
okay.
I want to make sure that everyone watching knows how they can find you. And yes. Other than just watching Doctor Who.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, we can extend the time. So if you go to my website, which unfortunately has been under construction for the last 6 months, which is jondavey.com. If you go to it, probably when this broadcast, I'll still have not done anything to it. You'll see something that doesn't make a lot of sense. But this is a lot of my Doctor Who stuff. So I've made a couple of videos. I've done a Doctor Who rap, an A to Z Doctor Who rap, based on alphabet aerobics that Daniel Radcliffe performed on the Jimmy Fallon show. So watch that. When we were in Australia, I also made a video called The Next-ish Doctor. Watch that, that's a good laugh. But also on my website, there is lots of my other work. So I'm involved in shooting stop motion animation. So I've worked on 2 Radiohead videos, one called There, and more recently one called Burn the Witch. And basically go to my website and you can see some little behind the scenes photos of how we actually shot it, those types of things. And what else have I been doing recently? Oh yeah, one of the most recent things I did was a music video for Run the Jewels, Killer Mike and LP's band, called Walking in the Snow. And again, that was lots of stop motion puppets. And it was, yeah, it was amazing fun doing it. There's my friend Phil manning the camera. Just quickly, what else? Oh, so during lockdown, I was actually quite busy because lots of the record labels couldn't make music videos. So they all started going, oh, we could just do animated music videos. So 2020, there was a trend. There was a lot of animated videos. So in fact, we actually made 3 music videos for Yusuf Cat Stevens. It was the 50th anniversary of his album Tea for the Tillerman, which he re-recorded, and he was going to go on tour. So we made music videos for Where Did the Children Play, which was, and if you have a look at the sets that we built, they were exceptionally complicated. We then also made a video for Father and Son, the classic Cat Stevens tune, and there you can see obviously me taking things seriously as I always do. This was directed by Chris Hopewell. There's a company called Jackknife Films, and then we did a cheeky little video which was Tea for the Tillerman, which is a little 60-second video. There's my friend Caddy animating. So yes, you can go to jondavey.com, or you can go to my social media, which is, hopefully the right page will come up, Jon Davey 007. Obviously Jon Davey was used up, but at the time I started putting 007, I was playing lots of GoldenEye on the N64. So that kind of stuck. So the majority of stuff that you'll see recently is me on my electric skateboard and building a van conversion, which I'm hoping to finish and then drive off to the south of France, which would be nice. And there's a video of both. There's my van and there's me on my electric skateboard. Also on Facebook, Jon Davey 007, and on YouTube, Jon Davey 007. So across the board. I am on Twitter. I very rarely use it. Somebody did hack my Twitter. I then started writing Arabic, and I live in Saudi Arabia. So
Wow.
After a week, I managed to rescue my my Twitter page. But to be honest, I don't go on Twitter because I don't like arguing with people, which is pretty much what Twitter's for.
Well, thank you so much for coming and doing this with us. It's been amazing to get to talk to you and hear your stories.
I do have to apologize. I've just talked and I haven't really how are you? How are you doing?
Oh, but they're here to hear your story though, not mine.
Oh, shoot with them. I want to know how you're doing. Are you keeping busy?
Pretty. Getting ready for our BritCon. Really
Excellent.
Enjoying setting up our cosplay contest.
Cool. Well, I'll definitely cheer. Are you entering the cosplay contest, or you
I am hosting, but we have Dalek and a 6th Doctor entered in our contest.
Excellent.
So,
Is it? Will this be going live as well?
Yes, it will be. It will be going live on the 7th, same day as this interview.
Excellent. And what time's the cosplay contest?
I'm thinking it's probably going to be the end of the day, probably like the after hours event.
Oh, right. So that in the UK, that might be like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, you might have to catch it the next day, unless
Okay.
you're up really early or really late.
Oh, excellent. Well, good luck with it, and hello to everyone at BritCon, and I hope you enjoyed our conversation. Well, I wouldn't call it a conversation. I'd just call it me just talking.
You're telling the people the stories they want to hear.
Oh, that's good.
Thank you guys for joining us today at BritCon and for watching this interview. And if you enjoyed it, make sure you catch John and Tim Dane Reed in the Men Behind the Masks panel.
That was great, wasn't it? I'm the Doctor, and you are watching BritCon. Don't go away!